Are they
Pardon me?
recorded?
Yes,
Also,
yes.
video and audio
We're on audio.
and posted as
I don't
well?
know. Do you want to lead us in the pledge, Commissioner Scott?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Brenda Simmons, Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Here.
Craig Scott,
Here.
Charles Wiltie.
Here.
Any additions or corrections, commissioners?
No, I have none.
Public comment? Any in the room? On agenda items only? Any public comment on the phone? I don't think we have any appointments, correct?
Nope.
Discussion items, transit. We have the bus wash system bids and heavy duty lift bids and the transit millage.
In the absence of Ray, I'll quickly review this first bid on the bus wash, also known as a wash bot, I guess. 3 responses to the RFP, 2 of them actually submitted quotes. The Interclean quote is the low bid at $29,950. We have a committee member that Tom Krebs that went through these in great detail. I posted or included his email analysis with the material here. I totally concur with what he said. In fact, that the Interclean is the only one that's actually responsive that answered all of the issues that we had in the RFP. I think puts them above the Bidemic proposal. And it definitely will suit what they need at transit. The other quote is okay, but probably, I'll just say, I think there'll be some issues in terms of getting it installed and using it just in the configuration that they have set up for the new building. They'll have to rethink some things. That's why they were pretty specific on how they wanted this bus wash to work. So anyway, that would be my recommendation is that you would go with that Interclean quote. And by the way, this is grant funded, both this and the lift are both grant funded. And Ray is a little nervous about getting all this in and operating by September 30th, but if this is approved here in this cycle, that's gives them plenty of time.
And that Interclean is also based out in Michigan.
It
correct?
is, right.
I read that. Any questions? I read Tom's email. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, is this a walk around thing?
Yeah.
Ride around or
Yeah.
Push.
you push? It's like a self-propelled lawnmower kind of thing?
Yeah.
Will it do cars?
I'm sure it will.
I would imagine so.
It's built obviously to go way up, but a car, you don't have to go it's far up.
Okay, so it'll do just about any vehicle.
Yeah, it truly it should. I don't profess to be an expert on these things, but it should.
Okay, and we're gonna have a wash bay, the designated wash bay.
I understand that entire building that's going up, you could use this, but I'm sure that they'll have a designated place where they'll say this is where you go to wash the bus.
Oh, will they? Will
There's
there be
an
a?
actual designated part of the new construction for the wash bay area,
Oh,
for
okay.
the drainage and.
Will you hook a hose to this thing or you gotta refill the tank every time?
This one has a tank that has to be filled up, but there might be also the option to just hook the hose up. But I think then that could get in the way of how it works, moving around with the hose. So I think the tank is so it's more
Oh,
versatile and there isn't obstacles getting in the way,
can come down off the ceiling like the car wash does.
possibly. Not sure.
That's how they take care of it, the car wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was like I guess I don't know, like a warranty with this. It was an extensive. There's like so if it breaks, they'll come fix it, all that other stuff in here,
Right.
correct?
And I wish I could bring it up, but it's telling me something went wrong. So I
Well,
can't
that's-
bring up their proposal.
I got it right there.
I've got it too. It's 21 pages.
That's bizarre.
Warranty 2 years of all parts, 5 years on power brush drive system, but did it say like the service calls?
Okay, here we go. Let me scan it. I remember reading something about it, but let me just make sure. Yeah, warranty 2 years, all parts, 5 years on power brush. Let's see. Thought I read something about them servicing it though.
I didn't see it, but it was pretty long.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll take the time now. I'll get into it and let you know.
Okay. Cause that would be a pretty significant cost. Do you see it? What's that?
I was just saying, obviously a lot of information on this, but remember for the interclean, didn't you say, I mean, it's a two-year warranty in Michigan
A
Bay.
2 year on all parts, 5 years on the power brush drive system. And frankly, I mean, it just comes off to me as being pretty standard when you buy something like this. So, but I'm looking for the statement that they come in and service everything. You know, it's one thing to warranty the parts, but service component. But like I said, I'll dive into this and let you know, shoot you an email.
Okay, I agree with them as well, but I think we need clarification on that. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay, the heavy duty lift bids? Tom, there's an email on that one as well.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add to that, Tim?
I don't, but I did, I said, I'm gonna miss the name up if I don't look at it. The Advanced Auto proposal, again, the only one of the three quotes that we received that met all of the criteria. And this one was, I think, a little bit more specific. The other two, the EDI and the Kessler, there's a difference between, let's get this right now, it's just like an open-ended lift. And that's what they need for the buses. And I'm not sure the EDI and Kessler do that. And my big concern there is, again, not knowing that much about buses and how they fit on lifts, that the lifts would actually work for us. They obviously committed on the two companies that they would work, but I think the fact that the Advanced Auto was exactly what we asked for a quote on, confidence is higher in their product anyway. Again, just have the added advantage of being the low bid with the additional with about 7,000 or so on the installation that they asked for. They're still a low bid, so it works out I think better all the way around.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
And I know with this, you know, that we really stress the communication from Director Ray to our head mechanic, Ray, because the head mechanic is obviously the one that has to work with this, and he's the one that really needs to be able to make sure that, yes, it's gonna fit all our buses and vans. So I know that communication's been there, and so I know it wouldn't be here to this point in front of us if it wasn't gonna, you know, work for us there, so.
So we're saying both Rays have looked at this.
Yes.
Tom had some more questions about, did you get that in that email? Were they clarified? Cause I don't see. He had 3 statements there
Get back to it here.
on each one. Come on. You said the advanced, see it?
On the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking at the model, making sure that which model we're getting, and yeah, I can follow up with Advanced Auto to make sure. Yeah, I read it. There, I understand what he's saying here, but the two models that were that S model.
Okay.
So it's which one now is the recommendation?
Advanced Auto and
For the lift.
they are giving us their ARO 22 model. We want to sure that's the one we want. We want to make sure that that's exactly what they bid. There was mention of that S model in there. But yeah, we'll just make sure. I don't wanna end up with something we didn't ask for.
Okay. Questions, comments? Do you see his email, Commissioner
Yeah.
Scott? Good,
Good.
okay, transit millage.
There was a brief conversation at the transit committee meeting about the millage itself. The question really is come down to what rate is the board comfortable with? We've talked about 0.75, we've talked about 1 mil. At the transit committee, we were really concerned about the reduction in state funding, although I have to say that I think that's an outlier. I don't think you're gonna have that mistake happen every year. Ray was concerned because it was less than what they had budgeted, but I will draw your attention to their fund balance, which is well over, but in excess of $1 million. That amount that the state was looking at, I forget the exact amount that Ray had calculated, but certainly within their fund balance, they would be able to absorb that. I do understand Ray's comment that we don't know from year to year what state and federal funding is going to come forward. Okay, well, that's always going to be a given. There's not much we can do about that. So it really came down to a discussion, you know, is it 0.75 mil or would it be a full mil? And I would leave that on the floor for you to discuss.
Commissioner Schwartz?
A comment about, even though, let's say if it were 1 mil, doesn't mean we have to collect 1 mil. This board has done it before. As when millages have been passed, haven't collected full millage because it wasn't required. And that could happen again, but with the fund balance, I mean, I could stay with 3/4 mil, doesn't bother me. I just want to make sure that we have our transit. And there is also some forward-looking services that they like to provide, would be real advantage to the individuals here in Ogemaw County. So we could stay at 3/4 mil, and maybe we can or cannot do the forward-looking progress that we'd like to do. It depends on the state. So taking a gamble either way.
Mr. Wiltie?
This was a big topic at our last transit meeting, conversation, and it basically seemed like the consensus of the transit board is that we feel like the 0.75 will be adequate.
Commissioner Scott?
We were at 0.3. Ray came to us with the sky's fallen synopsis or analysis. Sky is falling. I gotta have more money. We put on another 0.3 additional millage. The first year he didn't spend a 1 dime of it. It all went to the fund balance. Matter of fact, I think all 3 years it went to the fund balance. I've heard this thing that, oh, we can't predict. Well, we can't predict anything. I mean, we can't predict any other department either. Their state funding comes, federal funding comes. $1 million fund balance. Holy smokes, man. They can build a whole nother building. And we're nailing fascia on up there because it's falling off. Yeah, I don't know. I just, we talk about taxpayer burden and burnout and everything else, and here we got other millages we're talking about. I think 0.7, they didn't even spend 0.6. 0.3 and 3. I get your idea, we don't have to fill that, and we haven't. We've had years that we cut back on a lot of millages.
Yes.
So you're in favor of what?
Well, if it's a choice between 0.75 and 1, it's 0.75.
0.75.
I agree with the 0.75 as well. Mr. Mayo?
That'll work.
Okay.
But now if that doesn't go through, there is nothing then, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then there will be nothing.
Right.
And that's going on the August,
That was the.
Yes.
intent.
right?
Yep.
So will the verbiage be new millage or a continuation? It'll be new, correct?
Yeah, this is a whole new question, really. I mean, we had the two, as Commissioner Scott said, but we wouldn't have the two anymore. It would just be the one.
Well, the one fell off.
Right.
The one already fell off.
Right.
We're only at 0.3 right now.
My point is it wouldn't qualify as a renewal. This would be a question of new.
No, right. And like I said before, and we've done it before, this board's done it before. If we find that we don't need the 0.75, doesn't mean we could collect 0.3, whatever is required. I just want to make sure we don't lose transit. But like I said, we don't have to collect the full millage, even though it passes. We can collect part of that millage.
Well, that fund balance basically is 0.3 times 3 years. The fund balance alone. That's 3 years worth of 0.3 millage right now.
Yep, and I understand that.
So it won't, if it fails, it won't close the doors.
No,
We can operate on 0.3.
right.
So that tells you right there, you can operate for at least 3 years without cutting back anything. Now, if you cut back and.
Right
was
now,
conservative,
sorry.
Can I say that again? I guess you lost me. We're not gonna be collecting two millages. This is gonna be the
no,
combination.
Either one, if
Right.
it fails, you sit there with $1 million in
Oh,
the fund balance. That basically is 0.3 for 3 years. If you do the math, you're gonna come close to it.
I mean, $1 million.
Basically, a mill is just over $1 million here in this county. Right now. 1.1, something like that. Yeah, so with a fund balance like that. Basically, it takes care of that 0.3. I mean, if you had to, well, if you get to where you don't have a millage coming in, you're gonna have to cut back immediately. Cut something back.
how many years on this millage? Are you guys talking? Do we know?
Or, I don't know.
Came to
I
that?
would suggest it should be either 4 or 6, just
I think we were
cycles.
debating between 4 or 6.
Okay. So when's the deadline for this? If it's gonna go on to August?
We would need to have a resolution in front of you with the language at the next committee of the whole, so you could vote on it at the end of the month. I believe the date is April 30th.
Yes.
And I know $1 million sounds like a lot, but if something big comes up, that $1 million could be gobbled up pretty quickly. I'm just, like I said, if it passes, doesn't mean if we don't need it, we don't have to collect that millage. And that's the important part. And this board has done that before. Didn't require the millage, they didn't collect the millage. So,
I agree. That way that gives us some leeway as far as what the state's reimbursement is gonna be, and I agree with that. Just make that very, very well known. That we will, before the determination as far as how much is gonna be collected, we look at the fund balance and.
I was talking to somebody the other day about, and they were talking about that also. And I said, doesn't mean we have to collect it, because this board's done that before.
I don't like,
Oh, that's right, I forgot about
I
that.
don't want somebody saying, if it doesn't pass, we close it up. Cause.
No, but if it doesn't,
Won't,
Well, we don't
you
know.
don't have to.
it may, no, let's say it won't close.
Well,
But if
it's
there's
$1
no
million.
money- But if there's no money coming in, it won't take long.
If,
$1 million sounds like a lot of money.
Well, I get that,
Running
I
a
get that,
transit-
I get that, but what I'm saying is, I don't want people to get the misconception that it's gonna close immediately.
I understand.
Cause that money would have to sit there in that bank account and left there if you close,
I
because
understand.
you can't put it any other place.
I understand that.
so we're all in agreement, the 0.75, and then you guys will come back to us as far as the, years, correct? Okay, Commission on Aging millage.
We got a request from Commission on Aging to, place their millage on the ballot. Their current millage expired this current year, so they're funded for this year. They're asking for millage to remain what they've had in the past at 0.75 for 10 years.
I was shocked by the 10 years.
Yeah,
How is their fund balance? Where are they at as far as monies?
I'd have to look them up. They're a separate audit entirely, but I'll find out.
This is renewal, right?
It will be, but renewal and a reset to that 0.75. They're subject to rollback like everybody else. So this would be like we did with the
Understand.
road patrol millage.
Yep.
Renewal plus the
The
difference to
rollback.
reset it, yeah.
Yep,
So I just like some more information on that, like what their fund balance is, and I'm a huge advocate of this. I use Commission on Aging a lot.
which commissioners on the Commission on Aging Board?
What's your fund balance?
I got it at home.
That's fair. That's fair. Hate to give any false information. Do you know around, like, are they set pretty good financially?
Yeah, they do pretty well.
They offer a lot of great services to the community.
Yeah, like Meals on Wheels and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think the main trouble we have with all these millages is ARPA. When they had so much, they spend it, and when it comes to cutting back, it hurts.
You mean
You're talking about
these
everything.
entities?
Everything. in general.
Everybody,
Yeah, that's
they
fair.
used to having all this and now it's gone
Mhm.
and they're scrambling.
That's fair.
Like the health department and everybody else, they're
Yes.
predicting in 2 years, they're gonna need more money. They can go that far, but they're used to spending and cutting back, it's tough.
In our professional journals, it's called the ARPA hangover.
I don't disagree with that at all.
No,
Another thing is
not at all.
Commission on Aging, yes, they do Meals on Wheels, but they, also, offer the very, low, the lunches over there, and they're very good. I've ate there. A lot of activities for our seniors. They also go into residents, I'm gonna say patients' homes. If I order Commission on Aging, they do an assessment on patients, and, they will get, say, 1 to 2 hours of heavy household chores. They also help with transportation for some patients, they are allowed so many hours per week, and a lot of people are not aware of those services. It's not just Meals on Wheels. They do a lot.
And there's a program there now where all the veterans can go 1 day a month, all get together too, and that's really nice, because when you're a veteran, you speak the language. When you're not a veteran, you don't.
I refer a lot of patients there, go there for lunch, go there, play cards, go there for the socialization. It's a great.
Usually the
great
place is
facility.
packed with cards. I was there a couple days ago, and they were.
You fall in this category?
I'm going to soon, but I like to play bridge, and they play bridge.
I just want some more information as far as fund wise where they are, in case we're asked out in the public setting. I think that's pretty crucial information, but I'm a huge advocate of these services. Any questions?
No, I think we ought to allow it to be put on.
In the same schedule, the next committee of the whole will have language that you can look at, and then meeting on what would it be, the 28th would be, no. 25th, anyway, at the end of the month, you'll have
They'd have to have one heck of a big, one balance for us to postpone this 2 years. Cause the next time to put it on a ballot would be 2 years.
I don't want to postpone it by any means. I just would like some information when we're asking the general public and we're talking about the August ballot. If somebody asked.
Sure. Sure.
So, okay, jail millage.
This is on the agenda after conversation at I think it was our last meeting, it was suggested that we discuss that, so really at the very beginning of conversation.
Comments? You guys have had a week to kind of think about it.
Well,
Uh,
last year it cost $2.2 million to operate. $375,000 payment.
And that 2 point, what you just said doesn't include that $300,000 payment either.
No, I said plus the
Yeah, well,
payment,
plus I didn't have, sorry.
plus the payment. So what do you ask for? Do you ask for part of that? Do you ask for all of it? Do you?
my concern is even if the Headley does pass, it's still not going to,
Cover the loss.
it's not gonna cover this loss. If it doesn't pass and we don't go forward with a millage for this, we're in trouble.
Well, if you've been watching the news, Isabella County's running into the same problem.
Yes.
And a lot of that is exactly Roger's point. ARPA was this crutch that came along, but it's no different. ARPA isn't any different than any other federal or state funding. Just like we're just talking with transit, you don't know what the state and the federal is gonna give you every year. If the federal backed off, say at the airport, we'd have to close the airport. I mean, Paul sits on the airport board along with me and Brenda both. I mean, that's what, 7/8 of the budget? Federal money? I mean, we wouldn't be able to pave the airstrip next year if it wasn't for federal dollars. And, you know, this is a big problem that any federal representative has. This is why they just keep spending money. I mean, we're all dependent on it. And then ARPA come along and that was just federal dollars given to us. And it just postponed all our woes.
Mhm.
Isabella, geez, what are they, $6 million in the hole? Something like
There are
that.
Other factors at work there, but yes.
But I mean, a mill there is like $2.5 million or something like that, you know? And they're going through the same thing we are. What does the state make mandatory that you have to fund? And what you don't have to fund? And you have to prioritize what statute.
They don't have that.
So, oh, what's your opinion on this?
We have to.
Exactly, you just talked all the way around it.
I did.
Yeah, 2 out of state.
Oh, well, I go along with Roger's opinion last time was let the voter decide. It's their pocket, it's their checkbook they're writing it out of, you know? But we have to get operating, at least. We have to get operating.
Maybe about 2.5 mils.
Yeah,
We'd have to have at least 2.5 mils because I was
Absolutely.
thinking, and like you said, Commissioner David, they will not cover what we need now, plus the jail.
Right.
It will not cover it.
that should have been floated when they built it, but that's all water way under the bridge.
I tried to convince them long.
And,
But listen,
you know, and you can't worry about what the expense was last year and the expense this year. What's the expense 4 years from now? It's gonna be probably close to 2.6.
It's not getting cheaper.
No, not at all. I mean, we see that at the grocery store
Mhm.
ourselves and tax, well, we don't have property tax, but cost of goods, cost of labor. You know, it just keeps going up.
Commissioner Wiltie?
And the bottom line is, as current conditions of the county, we cannot afford our jail. I mean, it's right there in front of us. You know, the costs continue to rise. I mean, almost $1 million increase in cost to have the jail open since 2019. And those are huge numbers. And we just cannot afford it. So what do? I think a millage is an option. I mean, I'm obviously very concerned about voter exhaustion. I'm concerned about, you know, my constituents and, you know, all that's going on with the economy and, you know, inflation. And, you know, it's really put a lot of people in a bad spot. But in order for us to continue the services of the county, we need to have the money to pay for it. And we simply just don't have the money to pay for our jail right now.
My perspective on that is the voters are paying for the bond, the payment of the jail. I think we need to versus us making that decision whether to maintain it or not maintain it. I think it needs to be up to the people since they're paying for it currently. I very similar to your opinion. I hate to see another millage on here, but I don't see where we have an option at this point in time to maintain what we currently have. This wouldn't be for extra. I agree with that, Commissioner Scott. This is just to maintain, and we would have to figure out exactly how much we would need to cover that cost. And let the voters decide.
I agree, let the voters decide. And it's their pocketbook. It's their pocketbook.
The other thing,
But another thing that, go Go ahead. I'll say my other comment later because it comes further down the list.
Well, if the Headley restoration passes, I hope that we would use a very good portion of that for the fund balance.
I agree.
That will be a windfall to get that. And use what we can to bring ourselves to zero. And then like cash.
Negative,
balances,
get rid of the negative cash flow.
yeah, get rid of that.
Yes.
And plan for a, we've been planning the last 4 years, we've been planning to get off the tax revolving fund. We knew that the ARPA was gonna run out. We're planning to get off the tax revolving fund. We need to have a plan set in place where we can come up with a fund balance. Every government entity in this county has a fund balance. Some of the special funds, just like we're talking transit, council on aging, they have fund balances. 911 has a fund balance. I mean, we gotta start making that plan, that down the road plan. We gotta get a fund balance.
Right, because we're also losing $500,000 of ARPA funds
Yeah.
after next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So.
we're not gonna do that. The Headley is a decent thing to ask for, but it's lost in the past at the county level and at township levels. It's a long shot.
But we're
but-
taking it.
We're gonna take it. But if it comes, it'll be a windfall. Let's not just take the windfall and blow it. Let's not just.
That wasn't our intention.
You tripped over. You made a few bucks extra this week on overtime and you just go out and buy something with it. No, stick it in the bank. We
Well-
need to stick it in the bank.
Again, that $500,000 we're losing next year.
I know. I
So
know.
that's gonna be,
No. Well, we're not gonna be able to pay negative cash and that 500,000.
Mr. Wiltie,
I think we've been really clear on our communication and consistent, as a board here when it comes to, starting in September when we had to make the hard decisions. I think we all realize that obviously the hard decisions that we're making is basically at the end of the day to be able to create that financial stability of the counties. You guys keep hearing me say that, and then we started talking about the possibility of Headley. And yeah, it's a big challenge in front of us. But we're trying,
Oh, yeah,
and I think that if we can get it to pass, I think we're all on the same page. It's made to take this money and just try to keep fixing things that are broken. I mean, we've got to figure out how to create that sustainability of the county where we give our constituents the best service we can. But at the end of the day, we have to get rid of the negative cash flow. We have to start working on that fund balance. So I think we're all on the same page with that.
Commissioner Simmons.
Okay, the tax revolving fund is what makes us whole now when people pay the tax as far as paying the townships and everybody off in every other millage. And right now, we're 83 out of 83 counties financially. We're at the bottom of the rung. And as I look at it, I see the special funds that are paying our bills right now. And that tells me we basically are bankrupt. We have negative cash flow. Negative cash flow means we have no money.
And a negative fund balance.
There you
Get
go.
down.
Yeah.
So basically, we are bankrupt. We are paying our county bills on fund balances of other special funds in this county. And if those special funds weren't there, we wouldn't be able to pay any bills. That's why it's so important this Headley passes. What really upsets me is when I see things posted on Facebook and it's false information. And the sad part is people jump all over that false information and think it's truth. If they want to know the truth, then call the treasurer, call the county commissioner, call the county administrator. I had 2 calls yesterday and they understood much, much better what the Headley was all about. Because people don't understand the Headley. If you don't understand it, don't talk to Joe Blow on the street. Talk to the horse's head instead of the horse's you know what.
So
And that's where it needs to go.
we're gonna go back to the jail millage. Are you in favor or not in favor?
Yes, of course I am.
Well, that was just a very long way of saying yes.
Oh, that's okay.
Right? I agree.
No, I'm talking about all this crap that's going out there.
I-
Bogus.
You can't change it. I agree. You can't change it, but that's how.
They say you can't
society-
fix stupid, and I guess I believe it.
Hold on, and that comes with education. So,
It does.
Commissioner Mayhew,
Yes,
guess what?
I'm for the jail millage.
Anything else to say? Perfect. Sheriff, do you have an opinion? You wanted to do some investigating on it? And Mr. Howard, do you guys have an opinion on this?
I just worry about the voter exhaustion, so
Agreed.
we've got some renewals coming up for fire that's coming up in mills. That's 2 mills total. I just worry about that. Throw another millage on there. It might be,
I could just close the jail now. Don't worry about it.
Hold on, he wasn't done.
Sorry.
I just worry about the voter exhaustion. There's a lot of stuff.
I agree. How many, so right now, do you have an approximate how many August? I know,
It's a moving target. I couldn't tell you.
I guess I should, I'm sorry.
So.
It's,
You're gonna be.
In November?
It's gotta be on there.
there,
Oh, you do have that. How nice.
there isn't anything.
Is that the
on
newest one?
November.
Yeah, but this is an update. The animal shelter's in May.
Yeah.
Wait.
Right there.
Well, I mean, August, we're already looking at
I don't,
1, 2, 3, 4. Some of these are
is that the one I
are
put
more
on?
township. Yeah,
Got animal shelter in May in that one.
Yeah,
Is
yep.
it in May?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Shelters.
yes.
This one's in
Yeah,
August.
know.
Cause that sheet I put out is changed considerably since I,
Transit,
Oh. okay.
EMS is on there, veterans,
August.
Yep. What-
August.
COA, Commission on Aging. Hello. So that's,
we had the school millage,
3, 4 for sure at a county level. And then you have some townships on here too.
School is in May.
May.
School in May.
West Branch School, right?
Yeah, right there.
and we also have, and another misunderstanding, we have it on there is services, so we can use the animal shelter. That's what that's for. And if it doesn't pass. I have to tell probably people that we can't pick up your dogs.
The reason you say not in November, and I agree with that, is because our budget
Starts in October.
starts in October 1, so that you and I had that conversation. I agreed. By looking at this, I would have said, well, let's wait till November, but we can't.
We can't.
So I agree with
We
that.
gotta, the only thing is, if anything's on November, if we make the cuts before October 1st, if something passes in November, we could bring it back. But we have to, without that, we have to let it go. If it's not there October 1st, we can't pay for it. Period.
Agreed. I agreed 100%. I think we just need to figure out exactly how much would cover what amount we're looking at.
The jail,
Yep, we need those figures,
$2.5
not
million.
just to shoot right the
Right
dark.
now, the budget's $2.5 million.
Well, right, but we also utilize our I mean, would we need to collect all of that?
Yes.
Because right, hold,
You asked me a question, I said yes.
I wasn't done. I guess again, I don't know that's gonna be scary to voters. I hear what you're saying, but that's covering all of it. That's not, do we really need to do that?
We're in negative cash right now. You tell me.
I agree with,
We're 83 out of 83.
but I
We're
don't,
Bankrupt.
I don't foresee a millage pass and it at two mills.
Then we have to take a different route.
Can I say something?
Please.
You gotta figure in the revenue that brings in too, so that, you take that right off your.
We need all of those figures. We need this to be an educational
You gotta come.
decision,
So Tim,
numbers and facts in front of us, all of them.
Commissioner David,
Yep.
I agree with what you're saying. I don't think we need 2.5. But I think it would be wise for us if we could even take the last 4 or 5 years. You know, each year we could look at how much money the jail generated, you know, how much money the jail generated for commissary, so we can
Right.
see all those numbers.
Yes.
And then we know what, you know, our expenses, again, this was right in front of us. We can see our expenses, how they've increased each year, and we know they're gonna continue to go up. Now, I am optimistic, and we don't have a crystal ball, but it has been good to see that the sheriff and Tom and the undersheriff have made decisions where we are billing our inmates more, so we are gonna be generating more money with that. I'm optimistic that come November, we will have a change in national leadership, but that's all gonna take time. you know, the toughness on crime, I think will come back with that. Therefore, our jails will, you know, we'll get more people in the jail, but that's gonna take time. But I think right now, if we could see those numbers, and I think that really the only option we have is to go for it.
Should the bond payment be in there too included, like everything in there?
I'll
We
tell you
need,
what, well, I'll give you everything.
Yep.
And then you can do the arithmetic and figure out where you're comfortable.
okay, can you
Okay.
have that?
By the time you figure out the income coming in, it pays for that pays for the bond payment. If you roll the operating expense and the bond payment together, you'll be back down to 2.2 again.
I want to see that, and I think the public needs to see it as well. Can we have that actually versus waiting two full weeks for this? Can we have it at our meeting?
Have it to you in an email by tomorrow. And then we'll include it with the material that you have for your meeting on the next committee of the whole. So you'll have it there as well. So you don't have to worry about exactly your email.
Okay.
I've already got it. So it's just a matter of putting it in the email for you.
Okay.
Showing you.
That gives us adequate time still in 2 weeks.
Again, yeah, you're still in that same, by the end of April, decision will have to be made. So we'll do it.
Okay. Meeting times. I'm not sure
Oh,
who put that on.
I put it on.
Okay.
I don't like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather have them all afternoon. I would. Especially when you have things going on in the evening. Break right up and you go back to another meeting. I would like to have them in the afternoon. I would like to have our meetings in the afternoon. All 5:30 rather than 8 o'clock in the morning. As you can see, I was rushed this morning because of yesterday. I had a lot of calls, not a lot of calls. I had 3 calls yesterday that took a lot of time.
Comment.
Commissioner Mayhew,
I'm in for it.
Commissioner Scott.
Charlie's got something to say.
I know, I'm asking you, and then we'll go to Commissioner Wiltie.
Go to Commissioner Wiltie first, please.
Commissioner Wiltie.
I just kind of confused that this was brought up again. All the important items that we have to deal with, and it seems like we constantly are talking about this meeting schedule. Again, I feel it's important to have consistency, and I just feel like it's a yo-yo regarding this. You know, it seems, I don't know how long ago it was we made the decision to go to 8 o'clock. I'm willing, I want to work with you guys. We have so many big things that we're working on. So it's important that we are all on the same page as much as possible. I just think this is an item that we got to get figured out. I mean, it's back and forth, back and forth. I would like to say if we're gonna, well, we are talking about it again, we can make some decisions. I would hope that this doesn't continue to get brought up again in 2 months. Again, we have a lot of important things that we're dealing with at a county level, and I just feel that this topic continuing to get brought up is ridiculous.
Well, that's fair, but at the last time it was discussed, it also said we can change at any point in time and this
That's
can be
right.
talked about, so
See if it worked, and it's not working for me.
that's why I guess that's why it's here. So Commissioner Scott,
I just think that it's an inconvenience for the department heads and the department heads that we asked to come in in the evening. They're already working all day.
We have Zoom.
Yeah, I think we'll have overtime.
Well, or we can flex them, but you know, it's just, we ask employees to come to meetings time to time. We request some presence, and I think that's daytime plus, you know, it's availability to the public. I know we don't get a lot of public, I get it, but
I agree, this has been extremely inconsistent back and forth, but we said that if anybody wanted to talk about it, again, it could be brought back to the table. Evening meetings, I've made that very verbal, work best for me. I've stood behind that, but I
What works best
believe
for you?
the evening meetings, the 5:30s, because of where I work and, you know, I have to use a half a day of vacation time every time I'm sitting here, during the day, but they work best for me. I've made that very clear and I've stood behind that, so. Then we tried the 8 o'clock, so, it's still a half a day of my work day. So, Commissioner Mayo?
If it's all in the evening, we can go back to that place. And this one here works fairly well for my hearing, except when it's packed. If there's a lot of people in here, I can hear nothing.
So I guess why back to that, because then the security has to stay later at night, so that doesn't really work.
But like you said, it's just an option that we can do, but I know, when people are out there, I just have trouble. They talk amongst themselves. I hear nothing.
How's your hearing over here? I guess we haven't really talked about that.
Mine's fine, but I don't think mine's as bad as his.
How's it with because it was a system, that's what the issue was over
You had
there.
to shut the heat off, then
Okay.
and then I could hear fine, but no, this one here. The other night when we had a full house here, it was nothing.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, it's just, and I understand, they talk and they don't understand and. I do the same thing, I'm in the back, nobody can hear me, you can talk back and forth, but it wipes me out.
Okay. So I guess what do you guys want? I guess that's, what do you want to do? There's 5 of us, so
It just works better for me at 5:30.
is that what your vote is?
That's what it is right now. Yeah, after doing 8 o'clock, we said we'd try 8 o'clock. It just doesn't want, I'm just rushing all the time.
Commissioner Mayhew?
Evening meeting works for me, great.
Tim, do you have a preference?
I don't, I will be here whenever you decide, so.
Commissioner Scott?
I like. It doesn't matter. Personally, I can come either time, doesn't matter, but I'm just thinking about department heads and public.
That's fair. Commissioner Wiltie?
Again, I want to work together, a lot of important items that we have to deal with here. I want consistency on this. I don't want this to continue to be back and forth. I do like where we're at and I'd like to stay there. But we all need to be on the same page here and just get this and move forward.
So I guess how do you guys feel about doing, I guess that's three votes to go to the 5:30. I think Commissioner Mayhew and I have been consistent on that. And do you guys want to revisit this in 2 months to see what our public attendance has been and see your guys' thoughts, so we can plan on revisiting this
And I understand what you're saying
with what?
about the public and stuff, but we do have Zoom now.
I agree.
And
Not me. I've been consistent with what I've
no,
said.
I understand you have been, but I think it's important the commissioners are here. And if it's not working for the commissioners, all of us, then I think it should go to 5:30.
Okay,
Because at 8 o'clock in the morning doesn't work well with me. It does not work well with me.
so that's 3. This is 5:30. So then let's revisit this. You want to revisit this in 2 months? Let's plan on revisiting and see.
Only if it's not working.
Let's have an open discussion about it. Let's plan on it. That way there's no surprise.
Okay. So our next meeting will be. When are we gonna start this? 5:30?
No, it'll be Tuesday.
It'll be Tuesday.
We just suggested not start it on Tuesday because we've already disrupted everything by moving it to Tuesday.
Right.
And we've got 8 o'clock posted everywhere. It's Thursday now. Yes, we can make a change with 18 hours worth of notice, but we've got a weekend in between there too. I just think we're setting ourselves or
Why don't we
I
start it in April then? I mean, May,
that's.
That's fine.
May 1st.
Okay. March overtime reports.
Just quickly run through them, starting on the first page, which is the overall, the big picture summary. 50% of the fiscal year finished at the 301 sheriff's office level, 50.8%, again, kind of right on target. The corrections overtime is one that is at 54.7% right now. They've done pretty well until now, keeping up with the reductions, the staffing reductions that they've had. My only concern here is when you look at the next sheet, we've got over $13,000 in banked comp time at corrections as well. That's going to have to be paid out at some point. It probably gets paid out through time off, but then somebody else is being brought in on overtime to cover those shifts. So that's one that's going to bear watching. The road patrol millage over time is dollar wise about the same place where it was last year, but it's at 62, almost 63% of the budget. Next meeting, next committee, the whole meeting will be doing the second quarter adjustments. In those adjustments, we will move some funding from wages that we know we're not going to have to pay. We've had two openings right now for the last quarter, meaning wages were not paid out. So those wages are available to insert into overtime. It does not affect the bottom line, but it is a personnel move. So you'll have to approve that as part of that quarterly adjustment. So it's a point of saying that it's covered within the budget that we have for the road patrol millage. Secondary road is way over at 146.5%, but I asked the undersheriff to take a look at that timesheet, and sure enough, the officer that assigned to secondary road was covering some road patrol millage shifts, so those overtime dollars really should have come from that line. It's only about $900. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but it will definitely put the secondary road overtime back under budget and back where we would expect to see it. The next sheet gives you the breakdown of what's happened over the last month. We had 2 pay periods in there, so you can see how the overtime is distributed. I will draw your attention to that last column, which gives you an idea of where all of the banks for comp time stand. And you'll see over at the jail, we have 2 people that are maxed right now at 48 hours and one that's at 45. They cannot accrue more than 48 according to their contract. You know, they have to start spending that down. In fact, there's another one at the very last employee also at 40 hours. In the road patrol, you've got one officer at 43.5 hours of comp time in the bank right now, almost $2,500 that is yet to be paid out. You know, point these out because these comp banks are reset at the end of the fiscal year. So these are dollars, these are actual dollars that are going to come out of the budget at some point between now and September 30th. And finally, the graphs, I'm not going to go over each one of them, but I will remind you that the graphs include the comp time obligations that are in here. So you'll see some, for instance, with our school resource deputies, because we're now including the comp time in these calculations. They look way different than they have the last 4 years that we're showing. Most of these are, most of the trends anyway, are pretty consistent, but I'll point you out to the corrections over time. We've caught up with that high line fiscal year of 22. We're actually at that same level in March as we were in 22. So that's not a comfortable trend to see. But again, we're including our comp time in there now. So we're maybe seeing that appear a little bit earlier than we would otherwise on the graphs. We will be going over this in more detail with the law enforcement committee meeting at the conclusion of this meeting.
The road patrol overtime is quite high as well for this year.
It is, but again, recall we've got 2 openings right now and they're filling those shifts. I think that's impacting that a lot.
Tim, I have a question. For the corrections overtime, do you have that comp time as a value? Is that with this, or is that not even included on this?
If it was earned in this, well, of course, it was all earned in this fiscal year, so it is in here. So you're seeing that as part of the trend line. So it's now added into that. So that's again why I think you might be seeing this spiking a little bit earlier than you would otherwise, because we wouldn't necessarily see it all in March. It would be spread out through the entire year as that time is used. So now we're just saying, okay, we know it's there. No question. We know it's there. It's been earned. It's on the timesheet. We're
It's a liability.
putting it in here right now. No surprises then at the end of the year. It's all part of the formula.
That's the way it should be.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Questions? When do you guys have a law enforcement committee meeting? Today?
Right after this meeting.
Questions, Commissioner Scott?
No.
Okay. Public comment.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Brett Gildner, I just want to make it known that I am 100% in disagreement with all night meetings.
Any other public comment?
I agree with Rick. With that.
Any other public comment? Public comment on the phone? Motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Always good idea. 8:54, we're adjourned.